Paul Morphy was famous for his attacking style, and in some games, he even started without a rook, giving rook odds to the opponent. Yet, he still managed to win through rapid development and initiative. So, let's look at how Morphy created victories despite being down in material. So, in this game, Morphy has white pieces, and by the way, please notice he's playing without a rook. So then e4 was played by Morphy, e5, knight f3, knight c6. So what we can learn through this? Because of course, see, when he is giving rook odds to the opponent, so opponents would not be as strong. But at times, when we lose material, we lose the confidence, and then we don't put as much pressure on the opponent. So through these games, I want to show that how even when you're down in material, you can fight and you can try to put pressure on the opponent, and not just for the draw, at times for the win. So then Morphy played the move bishop c4. So you need to be ahead in development. You're also down in material, you're also down in development, so that won't work. So Morphy played the move bishop c4, then bishop c5. Now he goes for b4. So he sacrifices one more pawn. So he's like, okay, I'm down a rook, and then I'm sacrificing a pawn. So wait, why is he doing that? So the point is that he wants to gain the lead in development, because bishop takes b4, now c3. So he's able to get that pawn there with a tempo. The bishop c5, and he gets the king safe, d6, and now he's able to play d4. So again, bringing the pawn in the center with a tempo. So he had sacrificed that pawn, but thanks to that, now he has been able to get this pawn in the center with a tempo. So every tempo counts. E takes d4, c takes d4. At least from center perspective, things are not so bad for Morphy. I mean, but from the rook and the pawn perspective, they are bad. So bishop b6 was played. So he played the move knight c3, developing the knight as well. Then black played the move knight f5, trying to remove the bishop from this diagonal. Bishop d3 was played. Then black played bishop. Black is playing good chess actually. Black is developing the pieces, so black is not breaking any big principles so far. So bishop e3 was played by Morphy. Now, what black should have done is, black should have just either, you should have brought the knight back, or you should have played queen d7 and long castle, try to make the king safe, or knight e7 and then castle. Knight f6, maybe e5 ideas or something might come. So black, although there is nothing wrong with that, but then he should have played something like that. So either queen d7 and then long castle, or move the knight and then short castle, or just bring this knight back, and it wouldn't be that easy for Morphy to recover. But black got a bit greedy. He's like, let's get the queen out, let's put pressure on this knight, let's put pressure on this pawn. Then Morphy played knight d5, centralizing the knight with a tempo. So then black recognized that, all right, that queen move was not so great, so he brings it back, but at least Morphy got a tempo. Then he played the move h3, basically saying that if you play bishop h5, maybe I can play g4 at some point, who knows. So bishop takes f3 got played, and then queen takes f3. Now, of course, development is quite important, but what you should try to do is you should also remember about your opponent's ideas. So in this position, I think a good idea for his opponent would be knight c6, put pressure over here. But he played the move knight f6. He's like, let's finally get the knight out. But then Morphy played the move bishop g5, improving the bishop's position and putting the pressure over here. But so what? Bishop takes d4 is there. But then in this position, Morphy played e5, sacrificing one more pawn. Why? Because he wanted to open this file. He wanted all of his pieces to play. Because look at this, the knight, the bishop, the queen, this, all of the pieces are doing something. And then in this position, black should have played knight c6. And yeah, so there is bishop f6, this, and then knight takes f6 type of ideas, or even knight f6, gf6, bishop f6 type of ideas. But still, it's like black is so much up in material that he can actually try and give some of it back. Let's say if knight c6 happens, if knight f6, g takes f6, bishop takes f6. So then he can, for example, play knight d4. And if this, then there is queen takes f6, queen takes a8, this, but still black is up a piece. So but when we are analyzing the game later on, it's always easy to say such things, but while playing the game, it's not so easy. So Black played the most natural move. He's like, finally, it's time for me to make the king safe. But Morphy was waiting for that opportunity because he had this idea of rook takes e5. If in this position, so d takes e5 was played, and the point is knight takes f6, g takes f6, and then in this position, so Morphy had a better move actually. Bishop h6, threatening, of course, queen g3 or queen g4, and then soon the mate would follow. And if king h8, then there is queen f5 idea, because if queen takes d3, then queen f6 check would come, and then it would be mate. So, but he played bishop takes f6. I mean, the threat is the same, but then after queen takes f6, queen takes f6, of course, Morphy's opponent's king is very weak, so eventually he would lose. But Morphy's opponent had enough, and he actually resigned in this position. So what a great game by Morphy. So he was down a rook. So first of all, he got the strong center. He kept the pieces active, and then he even sacrificed more material to activate more of his pieces for that rook to put pressure through the e file. And then at some point, it became too much for his opponent to handle, and Morphy won this instructive game. Now, before we look at the next game of Morphy, I want to discuss about the platform that I run, chessneurons.com. The main goal of that is to improve your positional play. Our puzzles are crafted to mirror real over-the-board decisions on when to exchange, when to keep the tension, how to restrict your opponent's pieces. That's what makes chessneurons.com stand out. Please check it out today. Now, let's go for the next game of Morphy. So again, the same format like the last game. He's playing with the rook odds. They started with e4, then e5, and then in this position he played f4, the king's gambit actually. So he takes f4, then knight f3. So basically he's planning to play d4 at some point to have both the pawns in the center. Then his opponent played d5. He's like, before you are able to play d5, I'll challenge your center. Then he takes d5 was played. Queen takes d5. Morphy developed his knight with a tempo. So that's good. So then queen e6 check was played. So black is like, all right, I'll just try to some pressure, and if bishop e2 is played, maybe I'll try to get my bishop and knight out and then do something. So but now Morphy plays the move king f2. He's keeping the pressure on black because there is no idea of bishop b5 check and then rook e1. So then what black does? Black moves the queen again. See, Morphy has developed two knights and the bishop. And there are ideas like these as well. And what has the opponent done? Opponent has just moved the queen here and there. Not that great. So in this position, instead of developing like bishop d6 or bishop e6 or something like that, black played the move c6. Black is like, all right, I'll stop knight d5. Don't make the pawn moves so early. Just focus on that development. No unnecessary pawn moves, please. Then Morphy in this position played the move knight e4, centralizing the knight with a tempo. Queen f5, improving the knight rook's position. By the way, bishop e7 would be a blunder because of knight d6 check in this position. So then his opponent plays bishop e6. Now Morphy plays the move d4. He's like, you take my bishop, but then I'll have this double check, and then I can win the queen. So then bishop e7 was played. So here we have to remember that when we are substantially down in material, we have to play aggressively. We have to try to unsettle the opponent, and that's what Morphy does. He plays the move knight fg5, improving the knight's position. He's like, even after you have played bishop e7, I'm still not going to allow you to play bishop into c4 because knight d6 is coming with a check, because the e7 bishop will be pinned. And if bishop into g5, no worries, knight d6 check and this queen will still go. See how unsettling it would be for the opponent that, well, I'm up a rook, I'm up a pawn, and then what is going on? Why so much pressure is being put on me? And when these things happen, that's where opponents crack. So then black played the move knight d7, a good move. So now he's planning to castle on the queen side, and if the king gets safe, then the whole thing would fall apart for Morphy. So he goes for the move knight takes f7. So he knows that if black defends accurately, then the whole thing would fall apart. But he was down a rook to begin with, so he needs to play like this. Now the best move for black would have been to play queen takes f7, and then the point is that even if say knight d6 check is played, this, and then he can just move the queen. And yes, there is some skirt check ideas, but Morphy is not able to do as much. And say, for example, in this position, instead of knight d6 check, maybe if knight g5 is played, same thing actually, bishop takes g5, this, and then queen f6, discard check is there, but Morphy is not able to do much with it. I mean, even if he plays bishop takes g8 check, the king will move somewhere, and Morphy's opponent, Perin Alphonse, would still be upper rook. So, but as I said, easier said than done. When we are analyzing the game, it's easy to say such things, but when you're under such pressure, then the mistakes are bound to happen. So then Perin played the move knight f6. He just actually blundered knight d6, and then knight takes f5 happened. So it is, it's easy to say, oh wait, I blundered knight d6. No, but look at how persistent the pressure of Morphy was, that at some point it became too much for his opponent to handle. And then knight e4, and the bishop f5 was played. Just queen h5. So threatening this, and then g6 was played, queen h6 check, targeting that king. Then rook e7 and queen g7. If the king goes to e8 or d8, this would fall. King d6, then just bishop f4, knight e5, and yeah, bishop e5 is made. So extremely instructive games of Morphy on how to play when we are down substantially in material, how to keep up with our piece activity, how to not allow the opponent to get the king safe, and also with each and every move trying to unsettle the opponent. And then you have to remember that when we keep such pressure, then at one point or another, opponent is bound to crack. Thanks everyone for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.